Hey guys, welcome to Gen Z Law Podcast. I am your host, ATR. On today's episode, we'll be talking about why is financial literacy crucial for our generation, and I will be taking you through all the different reasons why this is a very crucial topic for us to address today. Before we get serious, right now I just had a shower, and you're probably thinking, oh, this guy's probably in his in his studio with some microphone setup and some sleek chair looking sharp and everything. Guys, I am in my bathrobe. I'm literally in towels right now and flip-flops, standing in front of my wardrobe with my microphone in front of me, and I am recording. That aside, Sunday was a very good day. Had a long Sunday. Anyways, hope you had a very good Sunday. And this is midnight. I hope you're finding good sleep, rest. Work is tomorrow. Okay, so let's get right into it anyways. So why is financial literacy crucial for our generation? It's simple. We're the future. And when I say we're the future, like I said the last podcast, we have the oldest set of Gen Zs, probably 25. There is no 25-year-old in the world right now that is making global world decisions. None. I don't care how successful you are not. There's none of 25-year-olds in the G5 or in the G6. There's no 25-year-old there. You don't have that. You don't have that access. You're not there yet. And so when I say we're the future, it's still ahead. It's not yet our turn. And so why it is very crucial for us to have financial literacy is because we're going to occupy those seats soon enough. And when we do, when we have power, real power in our hands, what would we do with it? And so it starts from financial literacy. Like the old adage says, the love of money is the root of all evil. Yeah. And some people have refined it and said the lack of money is the root of all evil. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. The reason why we chase money, we're all out there. You go through the education system, primary, secondary, tertiary, and now you're in the labor market. You're an adult. It's so you can survive. And how do you survive? Greed. You want to survive. That's your greed. Selfishness. Some people are probably like, huh? Ebola to just buy. Like, where they carry us go like this again? Yeah. You want to talk about financial literacy? You have to go deep. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and I told him something. When I say something's on the surface level, my definition of surface level is ground level. When people think of surface level, they think of an ocean, the surface of the ocean. That is the surface level. To me, that's shallow. That's not surface level. To me, to you, it might be the surface level. The surface level for me is the bottom of the ocean. The seabed. That's the surface of the seabed. That's surface level for me. And that's just an analogy for you to understand what I mean by surface level. The depth, the actual depth. When you talk about sea depth, you're talking about 10,000 feet below sea level, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 below sea level. Those are depths. And the seabed, that is a surface level. And that is the surface level that I talk about. And I refer to whenever I say surface level. On the surface level, that is the basic foundation. And that's another analogy. Picture this. A skyscraper. To be able to build a skyscraper as high as 200 floors, you have to erect a foundation so deep. It's the foundation that I'm talking about. Where the foundation starts from, the bottom, that surface, that is what I'm talking about when I say surface level. People might think surface level, oh, it's what is on the outside, that's the external, that's the very top. I don't think about surface level that way. When I say surface level, I mean the actual surface level. And so we have to take financial literacy to that very, very beginning. Where does it start from? It starts from greed. I know we all know like greed to be a negative word. Selfishness. Negative, sounds negative. But you see, the fact that we think is negative is a problem on its own. Because you know what greed is? Greed is simply what you want. That is your greed. It's just your want, what you want. That's it. That's greed. I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. That's greed. At that level, your want is your greed. Selfishness. Everybody has it, no matter how generous you think that you are, no matter how charitable or hospitable you are, you have some level of selfishness and greed inside of you, which is not to be taken very, very lightly. Your greed is what drives you as a person. It drives you to do things. I want this. How do I get it? Now, the how comes after the I want. It's from your want, from your greed, that you start to set goals. You start to set achievements. You start to set milestones for you to get to a certain place where you want, like I said, your greed. That's the ultimate, really, the surface level. It's greed. And so if you understand that it's your greed that makes you want and draw things towards you, you would be able to understand financial literacy properly. So I need you to forget everything that you already know about money. What you think you know, what you think you understand, drop it. Let us go down to the surface level and understand the basic principles of the ideology behind finance. And so if we're able to understand that, that's when we'll be able to proceed to things above the surface level. And so for greed, your greed is either three things in life, and you all have heard it. Number one is power. Your greed always leads you towards something that you want. You want power. And what is power? Power, to me, is the potential ability in terms of an embodiment to do something. That is power. And so if you check your physics definition, you check some other definition about, you have authority, you have this to do that. So that's what I'm saying. Basically, the potential ability of an embodiment to act, to carry out an action. That is power. And when you think about all the places where power is the drive, what really drives people a lot of people, in fact most people, it's power. And I'm going to give you a very, 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 very simple one for you to understand this. This example is so perfect. So listen up. I need you to hear this. When you talk about people that are into charities, people that are into NGOs, non-governmental organizations, people that do a lot of this foundation stuff, poverty alleviation, care for the motherless, the orphans, the homeless. Where does it start from? What is the idea behind it? And I want to submit to you that it is still greed. And your mentality about greed, I'm going to keep insisting, is wrong. You think greed is negative. Greed is neutral. It can be used to direct you in either directions, positive or negative. So you can use greed for good and you can use greed for evil. And so when I say people that are into NGO activities, charitable activities have greed, what they have greed for is power. As I have defined power before, the potential ability for an embodiment to carry out an action. That's power. And they have greed for power. They want to do this. They want to change this. They want to help these people in order to do this. The want is the greed. That's the neutral. The clause is what determines whether it is negative or positive. What you want. I want dash. The dash defines whether it is negative or positive. And so, people have greed for power. It can be good and bad. And you can have, the regular power that you have in terms of political power, the ones that are very popular. Political power is very popular because that is the power that allows you to control people and direct them in certain parts, give them rules, give them laws, policies, regulations in order to do something for you, in order to achieve something that you want. That is the surface level of greed, in terms of greed for power. The second one is money, greed for money. What money does is, money is a means of exchange for value. When you have money, you can exchange it for value that you want. And so people will define money as purchasing power. And so purchasing power allows you to do what? Get value. And that value you're getting is what? What enables you to achieve your goals, milestones that you have set, that you want, which is your greed. And that is the power that you have over your life. That's the ultimate, really. And that's why a lot of people tell you that discipline is the most important thing in your life. That gives you power to put your life on the path that you want it to go. You shape it, you direct it the way you want it to go. That is true power. No matter the consequence, no matter the opposition, the challenges, whatever comes along, you focus in order to achieve what you want. That is discipline, and that is true power. And when you talk about discipline in terms of financial literacy, which we're still going to talk about, it's a very broad topic, and it's a major factor that is going to be used throughout the entire longevity of this podcast. Discipline, that's what's going to get you to where you want to get to. And that's power. And that comes from your greed. And so money, which is majorly what is going to be talked about later on, is a major instrument, major tool, major item, major thing, in the world today, because you want to get value. Value is not free. You got to pay somehow. And money is one of the ways you can use to pay for value. That is called purchasing power, like I said earlier. And the last one, I'm talking about 3 different things that people rarely talk about. It is not public. It is sensitive to talk about power. It is sensitive to talk about money. And it is sensitive to talk about sex. I'm pretty sure some of you are like, oh my God, okay, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, that's the third thing. Greed drives your, desire to feel loved. The sex part is not sexual intercourse, it is intimacy. Connection with somebody else in order to relieve yourself of kinetic. And when I mean relieve yourself of kinetic, I mean you've got a lot of kinetic energy in terms of when you're worried, your brain is just like bzzz. You're freaking out. Bzzz. You're depressed. Bzzz. There's like a whole block on your head. There's like a whole burden on your head. There's like a whole this. And what really takes that away is intimacy. When you have somebody to talk to, You have somebody to share that with, the problems that you have. You can talk about them. And those people that have spouses, because I'm not going to encourage you to go sleeping around. I'm just going to keep it strictly, kingdom way right here. You got to be married to have actual sex, okay? And so relief in terms of body kinetic, when you study the science of it, I know this is like sensitive, somebody's going to be like cringe right now. Oh my God, what is he talking about? Yes. I'm talking about it. Let's continue. You check the science of it anyways. You see that dopamine, that's exactly what I've been thinking about, right? Dopamine is released. And what does dopamine do? Releases a feeling into your entire body that puts you from a state of particles vibrating at high frequency to a state of particles vibrating at the lower frequency. Same thing happens when you talk to people and you have a breakthrough. You have a moment, you have that point where there is the climax of the conversation, where you just break down, you cry, you probably feel the pain, and you find solace in the person's presence to be able to just be there. And you're also able to get some inspiration in order to forge ahead. And so, you as a person, what sex? Like I said, my definition of sex is all of these things together. Intimacy with people. It could be actual sex. It could be conversations, that's communication. And it could be your relationship with God. Intimacy, like I said. Have you heard about the word called pray through? When you pray through to something, meaning that you had a burden about something and then you pray about it, and then there's a breakthrough for you. So it's a pray through, right? It's a breakthrough, and that means that you got an answer. You got an inspiration. There was a confirmation. And so that burden that you have is moved, is lifted, is taken. That's what I call praying through. That is intimacy. And you can find that in prayer. And your greed drives you there. I just want to get rid of this burden. I just feel so tired and I want this to be over. I need to be with this person. I need to pray. I need to do this. I need to do that. I want this. This right there, that's your greed. Your greed drives you to do these things. Power, money, sex. Those are the three things in life that we actually have greed for. And these are the three things that are at the bottom, like I said, on the surface level, the beginning of the foundation. That's what's right there. So whether you want to be a doctor, your greed to be a doctor, your greed to want to help people get better, your greed to have your name as doctor, your greed to want put needles in people's arms. Oh my god, that's so funny. Shout out to Jumoke. Jum. Oh my god. That girl is so funny. She's my number one hater anyways. And then shout out to Tutu also, Tutu is a hater, but anyways, let's get back on track. So to agree to wanting to be something is basic. And so how does this link to financial literacy? Like, okay, I think by now you should be able to connect the dots. But then if you're not able to connect the dots yet, then I will connect the dots for you. You see, the question, why is financial literacy crucial for our generation? I said, we're the future. And so we need it. Why? The why is the global pandemic of financial illiteracy. Yeah, I'll say it again. The global pandemic of financial illiteracy. There's so many people that are financially illiterate, and that's why the 1% remain the 1%. Like, you always hear that, like, oh, the 1% do this, the 1% do that. Yeah, but then you see, the thing is that when you look at everything that they do, they have sound financial literacy. They are financially literate. They understand how money works on the surface level. And how it interlinks with everything in life, really. And so these are secrets. These are things that people know. Like, for example, let me give you a quick secret. The reason why they always tell you read a book, you should read a book, is because they know that there are some platforms that enable you to get summaries of these books. Now, I want to give you a very good analogy and stats, actually. I want you to picture this. So listen up. I need you to hear this. An entire book, that's a whole book, meaning it is 100%, right? The human brain can only recall a certain percentage of what it has read or what it has seen, whatever it has captured after a period of time. And let's say, for example, this book is 100% and your brain only retains about 15% of what this entire 100% book says. So Mr. A has done that. Mr. B goes ahead and goes to read the summary of the book, right? Because he feels that there's no need for all the, unnecessary stuff, because he's going to forget like most of the stuff inside the book. And so it's only the relevant things that he needs to actually figure out, right? And so he goes and checks out all the, summaries, the key points, you get all of that. And Mr. B knows all of that after reading those summaries. Now, those summaries are about 35 to 40% of the book, which is 60% or 65% less than the entire book. Less information than the entire book, right? But then Mr. B thinks that the other 65 or 60 to 65% of the entire book is redundant knowledge. But then 60 to 65% redundant knowledge to Mr. A are the analogies, the stories that are used in the book to be able to bring out the points that Mr. B has read. Now, you all understand that analogies are used to explain principles, And so when an analogy is given to you, it is so that it can be simplified and, brought to you in a very relatable manner so you can understand it better. But then the principles are just straightforward. A equals to B plus C, right? And then that's it. But then there's an analogy that says, when you have 3 apples, it's because John had 1 and Mary had 2. And so they put it together in a basket and it became 3. That's an analogy to explain that principle. And so you would remember that John had 1 and Mary had 2. You remember that story. You understand that. And the principle behind that is what Mr. B has only read, does not have the idea of the actual application that was in mind of the author of the book, right? To give perspective and context for those principles to be applied in. And so that is the 60 to 65% of the book that Mr. B finds as redundant knowledge. Isn't that crazy, right? Okay, so now let me bring it to you because I think you're already getting the jerk of it, right? So now, when Mr. B finally gets to the point where the natural brain starts to forget stuff, right, and can only remember 15% of the information, which is the 35 to 40% of the summaries, that's the key principles from the book. That's what he can remember, only 15% of that. Now, the 15% that Mr. A is going to remember compared to the 15% that Mr. B is going to be remembering, right? When you compare them in terms of quantity and quality, you see that Mr. A is better than Mr. B. And so that's why they say, read the book. Read the book. And so I would also encourage you to read books. So read books. So this was like an example of, the secrets. I'm just giving you like one of the secrets that, the 1% anyway. So let's get back to the main thing, talking about, the why. We're still back at the why. Why financial literacy is crucial for our generation, because there is a global pandemic of financial literacy. And so many people do not know Jack, and few people know Jack, and very, very few people actually know stuff, right? And so the secrets for what they know is one of the secrets that I just told you. And so you can pen that down. You can take this back a little, listen to it again, and write it down, and then try to do it. You see what I'm saying? Just try and experiment it. And so when you talk about the global pandemic of financial literacy, I mean, what do you mean by that? Okay, now hold on. It's not COVID, really. It's not COVID. What it is you have a lot of crime. You have a lot of crime which involves fraud, scams, violence, robberies, burglaries, terrorism, kidnapping, killings, and so many other stuff. They're horrible. Because of what? Financial illiteracy. And I'm going to give you a very, very practical example. There's some roadside beggar, or there's some unemployed youth, right? The youth is under maybe some bridge in Lagos or something. That's where they are at. And then you go to the youth as a, as an activist, actually maybe a terrorism group, and like the Boko Haram people, for example. Approach this, this young man that's broke, hungry, homeless, jobless, skillless, and then approach him and say, yo, wouldn't you like to have like food? Would you like food? Yeah, okay, let's go get food. Let's go grab a bite, right? And then while grabbing a bite, tells him, dude, like, seems like you're homeless and all of that. And then, the dude starts talking about like his life story and all that. And the person says, don't worry, I can link you up and, set you up and make your life better. Of course, this guy's gonna go. Especially if they're so convincing. If they ask them what is it, they really don't tell them. Okay, this is some money. This is my number. Call me if you're interested. Give the poor guy some 5K and a number to call. That guy is going to go call that number because he's hungry and he wants more. Because that 5K is going to finish. And he's going to want more. Greed. So they're going to capitalize on his greed. Like I said, foundation, power, purchasing power. You can buy things. Can buy loyalty. You pay me enough, I'm gonna stay with you, bruh. If they offer me another money higher than what you pay me, I won't go. As long as you pay me enough. That is loyalty. You can buy loyalty, but trust, you cannot buy that. That's different. And so that's where money comes in. You have money. Money buys things. Purchasing power. And so that guy wants money. This guy capitalizes on his greed and he goes to meet him. Right? This is basic level of how crime is, terrorism is. This is just simple things. I want this, and this is what you have to do for me. Or I want this, so what do you want me to do for you? That is greed. Base level for crime also. And so this guy goes to meet them, calls the number and say, oh, meet us at this location. And then they sought the guy, give him this. Okay, so we're going to teach you how to do this. We're going to teach you how to do that. This guy was skillless. This guy had no house, had no clothes, wasn't bathing, wasn't eating well, now has an entire haven of all these things. And then they now tell the guy, okay, so this is what we're going to do now. His greed is going to tell them, do you want this? You want to keep all of this? Or you don't want to keep all of this? Naturally, your greed wants stuff, does not want stuff. That's why it's called greed. You want. And so that's what's going to drive him to saying, yeah, sure. Yeah, give me that gun. Let me go waste on people. Yeah. That is greed. That's how it works. And so that guy has been successfully recruited to the biggest terrorist group ever. He has been taken from under the bridge where nobody cared about him, where he was wasting away and probably dying, and then now is in the biggest terrorist group ever where all these needs are being supplied. That's what greed can do, and that's what financial illiteracy can do, because he's illiterate about finance. He doesn't understand how this works. Finance does not just it's not just about money, cash. It's about this greed. It's about manipulating greed. That's what it's about. And so if you understand it at this level that I'm bringing it to you, congratulations. I hope my example has been able to explain and give you light to what I'm talking about. If not, just tell me, put it in the comments below, send me DMs on Instagram, and I will definitely give you feedback, and I could retouch on it in the next episode. This has been very nice. This has been very insightful, and I hope it has been insightful for you also. And before we go, I quickly want to go over what we've talked about and just give you highlights of what we've talked about, so you don't remember, so you do not forget, and so you can remember. That's what I wanted to say. And so you can remember. We talked about why financial literacy is crucial for our generation. We said because we are the future, and because there is a global pandemic of financial illiteracy which needs to be tackled. And then we spoke extensively on the surface level, which is greed, where we talked about power, money, and sex, which is what your greed drives you towards as a human being. And so that's a wrap on our episode for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, give us a follow if you've not followed before, share, send this to your friends, send this to your buddies, send this to your siblings, send this to everybody. I mean, everybody that you think of when I'm telling you, send this to somebody. I mean, that person that you just thought about, send it to them, because you want to go on a journey. And like I said in the first episode, I want us to have a time when we would all look back as an entire community and say, yeah, we started this, and look at where we are right now. That would be awesome. That would be so transcendent, to have a bunch of people that grew together. Wouldn't you like your guys to grow together? Like literally, like all of y'all. Let me use the new money thing, you know, all of you pushing Lambos, flying jets together, taking vacations, you know, going shopping together for the ladies, you know, meeting up in some country, you know, having that luxurious life and all of that. Wouldn't you like to do that with your friends? And so if you like to do that with your friends, and you actually feel that this is really good stuff, and you're learning from this, share. Send it to them. Let them hear this. Let them also share with their friends, their siblings. Because this is, I don't know what to say, this is transcendent. This is out of inspiration, like I said in the first episode. You cannot afford to miss this. And so, remain Gen Z legends that you are. Remember, Gen Z is your financial sidekick, and we hope that you already got your capes ready, because we're about to take off. See you in the next episode. Peace.